The Ryan Ries Show from Southern California. This is The Ryan Ries Show. Post your questions using @Ryan Ries on his Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Are you ready?
All right, well, it's going down again with Jairus Hodges, Calvary Chapel Fellowship in St. Pete, Florida. You guys have heard him several times on the show. He is not only the lead pastor now, 29 years old, lead pastor of his church that he took over for his dad out here, which is an amazing church. It has a school component to it. It's called ZEAL School of Ministry that's been around about, how many years? 4 to 5 years?
Yeah, we're in the fourth year right now.
Fourth year, and now you're booking class 5 as we speak.
As we speak.
So you guys go through like an interview process to see who would come in, and the classes can range from what's the max to like minimum?
It's young adults focused. The age range is 18 to 23. Mm-hmm. The maximum capacity for class is 10 students, and we also have 2 RAs, so it's like the 12 squad, just like Jesus. And then the interview process starts with the application, and then it's a 2-tier physical interview process, at least like through video call, with my best friend, associate pastor, and then second tier is me. And then when you get it through, everything checks out. Make sure it's the right fit for you, because it's a unique program. So make sure it's what kids are actually looking for. And if it is, full send. And if not, we encourage them. If it's not, sometimes it's not the right thing for kids because of what they got going on in life. It wouldn't actually be good for them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes what they're looking for is a different kind of program, because a lot of young people are looking for a certain kind of program to do, you know?
Yes, and let's talk about that, because there are multiple programs. First thing is, I come out here every year. I get to teach on evangelism, the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and I always have an amazing time. You know, I always come out here in like January, February is kind of like my timing. Mm-hmm. So it's right after an intense tour schedule, and then we have the holidays where we're out for Christmas and New Year's. And then it's been a blessing for me to be here, because it's like a jump start back in, because you're doing the holiday stuff. You're with the kids, you're skiing, you're snowboarding, surfing, whatever we're doing, and then you kind of pull out of the front lines of ministry during that time, and then coming back here, it's that jump start talking about in the new year, like all that God has done over the year, and then even teaching, and then even responding and doing time of waiting on the Holy Spirit to speak. Right. And it's really refreshing for me. It's like a jump start every year. So I love coming out here.
And it's the same thing for the kids too, because they get a break during Christmas time as well.
Oh yeah.
And then the year around, it starts and basically wraps around August. August is like our kind of transition time. Yeah. So September to the end of the year is their first semester. You come in their second semester, so it's after they're kind of been in the grind, learning things, talking about things for a while. They've been on break too, so same thing for them.
Dude, it's just perfect timing. No, it's amazing, and all the students. I mean, just the experience I've had out here every year, meeting the students. They all come from different backgrounds, all different backgrounds, all different states. Yep. Across the United States, different churches. And they're here, and they get to get poured into. And we're going to kind of go, I want to talk about it, because we actually have a couple, we have a student here right now that actually her mom heard about the school from this actual show that we did, I don't know, maybe a year ago when we were on, and now she's here this year, and she loves it.
I think it was when you were here last year.
Yeah, she loves it. You guys are about 5 months in right now, and she loves it, and she's just excited to see what God's doing. And, I just really encouraged them. I said, listen, and this goes for the listening audience as well, is that, when you're young, it's 18 to what?
23.
18 to 23. That's such a pivotal age in your life.
It's like college age, basically.
Trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. Right. And they come here for 1 year, and I said, listen, you guys, you being here for 1 year, what you're going to learn, these principles and this foundation through the Word of God and practical life experience, because you guys put them to work here as far as you get them involved in the ministry. And they're very, it's active. They're not just sitting in a classroom all day. Yeah. They're active, doing amazing stuff. And in a church that's very alive, by the way. It's a very young church here too, as well. Obviously you have the older people because it's a takeover, but you also have a very vibrant, young feel and excitement here. People are excited to be here. But I said, you guys, take this year. You're never going to get this back. Right. Take this year and just absorb it all, because you'll never have time to just sit for a year and be trained this intensively in this awesome environment out here in Florida, in St. Pete, Florida. And when you leave here, everything you learn here, these are the principles and everything you're going to take with you. Because when I got saved, I think like 17 years ago, I took a year off where I was just reading and praying and really discovering who Christ was in my life. And that year, I always look back and go, man, that year was amazing. I wish I could go back, but you can't go back to that.
Can't go back. Right.
I don't have that time. That was a window where I was able to do it, and they had that window. They're in that window. And some of you guys right now that are listening, or your sons, your daughters, or your nephews, have that window that is a possibility. And if anything, you could come and find the call that God has on your life, whatever it is. Ministry is not just in a church. Ministry is like, you could be doing ministry in the government. Like, you're a Christian in the government. You could be a Christian president. You could be a Christian musician. You could be a Christian that's an attorney. You could be a Christian, an artist, whatever it is. A Christian football player, you know what I mean?
Business,
a Christian
doctor,
business, whatever.
Right.
So it's like, these foundations, you could apply these to wherever you go in your life, and you're going to have more value because you're going to be filled with the Spirit, and you're going to know God's word, and you're going to have a foundation, which makes you more valuable in the workplace as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the first lessons that we teach the kids that come in here. Is it's all about principles more than the logistics, because that's biblical. In the Bible, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, it's always been about the heart. God's design has always been about the heart more than it is about the logistics. If you only care about the logistics, you become religious, and it's dead religion. You become like the Pharisees, and Jesus quoted the Old Testament and said, "I desire mercy and not sacrifice," which is like, it's about the heart, not just about what you do. So we tell them when they come in the beginning, we try and set them up, like the first week, especially like the kind of intro week, we're letting them know, hey, you're going to get opportunities to learn things and to practice things in a safe environment, so you can see not just the logistics. We're not trying to just like create other versions of us. We're trying to give you the deeper thing. It's kind of the idea of you give a person a fish, they eat for a day. You teach them to fish, they eat for a lifetime.
Right.
So we're trying to teach them how to fish.
Yeah.
And so every time things come up and we're talking about things, and a lot of the discipleship that takes place comes from kind of throwing them in with the sharks a little bit more as the year goes on, and like, you try and do this and try and this, and you go in that situation, you be here in the youth thing over there and do the worship thing there, and how about you lead the prayer group on this week? And like, all right, now what does it feel like for you to actually do that thing? And then the follow-up is, okay, here's the principles of leadership in ministry, and you can see how that principle applies, and then you could take that for the rest of your life. Yep. And so everything is based on principles, and we use the logistics of life experience to always go to those principles and teach those things.
So what is your been experience with these students? I guess they're younger.
Yeah,
they're not kids. They're actually adults.
I'm still young, but I call them kids.
Yeah, no.
I have it.
What has been like? What should people expect? So if parents listening right now, they're like, okay, I'm gonna send my kid to Florida. What do they expect? What's the living quarters look like? How's the whole program on? There's boys, there's girls.
Yep. Yeah. Good question. So for our particular program, there's a lot of people that are doing programs that I feel like I've been hearing more startups of different kind of programs that churches and pastors are doing, which is sick. Kind of like we were talking about the other day, that like churches have their own fingerprint. So you got a fingerprint. A lot of people are doing their own particular thing. So that's why I said earlier, like, what do we do, and what's the uniqueness of it, and make sure it's a good fit for you. So ZEAL is 1 year long, which is just enough time, but not too much time, but it's enough time to get some good teach you how to fish stuff taught. So the length of time is intentional. It is an on-campus residential program, meaning you stay on the campus. The style of the living quarters at our church is inside of a neighborhood, but it's like a rectangle that's sitting inside of a neighborhood. And on our rectangular lot, on our rectangular property, you got the main church buildings, and then on the other corner you got 5 houses. And the houses are used for different ministry things, and 2 of them are used for the students. One is for guys, one is for girls.
On the other side's literally like a 1-lane path road, like a car. It's very small. It's all connected. It's all butted up. It's just one campus.
It's one, and there's a courtyard that's connecting everything. Like in the center of the whole campus is our courtyard, and you could stand in the center of the courtyard and look around and see. So like you can go to the website and social media and kind of see videos and photos, especially after the renovations are done.
Yeah.
But the living quarters there's a house for the guys and a house for the girls.
And it's fully renovated. The only
yeah.
thing we're missing is some, what do you call those things? Pavers.
Yeah,
We got the pavers
we're
around
almost
laid
down
down.
to the renovations.
The whole church is completely remodeled.
But the houses are good. So the girls' house is a little bit better than the guys' house.
Is it?
It's the most recent, so of course we give it to the girls. But both the houses have been renovated for the guys and girls to stay in. There's going to be an RA. An RA is usually a previous student from the prior year. The RA is a guy that stays in the house with the guys, and a girl that stays in the house with the girls. So that helps with accountability for the program, and also helps for the discipleship, and not training just the students, but training the RA as they're trying to help the students. So they live in the house with them. So guys' house has a guy RA and up to 5 students. Girls' house has a girl RA and up to 5 girl students. And we split them between 2 bedrooms, and the 3rd bedroom is the RA. So they have their own bedroom. The other 2 bedrooms are split. And then they're on campus. So the schedule for our program is based around like a 40-hour work week, basically. So everything that's on their schedule, including the flex of like what events they might do or might not do and how things are going, it's generally based around a 40-hour work schedule.
So what does it look like? You get up in the morning.
Their whole week from Sunday to Saturday includes our main service times, their class times.
How long is the class time? Because like when you say big service, you got Wednesday nights.
Yeah, we got weekend services and Wednesday services. They got class times a couple days throughout the week, and they have serving opportunities and community opportunities, and then they have days off. That's the whole week. So Mondays.
Like, how long are you in class a day?
Monday's a day off. Tuesday we have 2 classes back to back in the morning.
And they're an hour each.
They're an hour each, and then we have a 2-hour class in the afternoon. That's the heaviest class day. Wednesday we have hour and a class on Wednesday morning, just 1 class in the morning, and then there's serving time Wednesday evening. Thursday is another 2-hour class. The morning time for Thursday is 3 hours of serving. They serve with the local church and help around the campus with things, and then 1 more class on Friday. So every day's got 1 class except Tuesday.
It's not like back to back. It's not.
Right. So that's the intentionality. There's a balance of the class times, and
that's amazing.
And the other side of their schedule is practical serving times, practical opportunities on the campus, but also off the campus, and then flexibility in time so that their schedule is not too jam-packed, because we're trying to teach them to have a balance in life, which is not very normal in ministry, but it's also not normal in work. Just in regular, you just talk to business people, they know, like workaholic is a temptation. So same thing in ministry. So the schedule is based around trying to be like, hey, this is the times that you're on, this is the times that you're off. Mm-hmm. As a rule, not as an exception. We teach that too. It's one of the principles, rules and exceptions. Monday is your day off. That's like total day off. We teach them how to have a day off and like not be doing too much and do things that are fun and chill out. And then the classes themselves are a mixture between straight Bible teaching. We take them through overview of Old and New Testament, so they get like a general overview of the books of the Old and New Testament. And then we go specifically through the book of Acts, which is the blueprint for Christianity and the church specifically. We're trying to teach them that because it's a school of ministry. So here's how church started. And the other classes are elective classes, which is practical training, hands-on, for things like audiovisual, music, worship-related stuff, media-related stuff. And there's a class that's life skills, where we teach them how to change a car tire, how to balance like finances. We do a first aid training class, like they get first aid certified, because the whole intentionality of our program is, my heart is that anyone that's going to do a good job as a leader in ministry is going to be a well-rounded human, because you need to be able to be a normal human and be in the ministry if you're going to be a good leader in ministry. Otherwise, you're not going to relate to anybody. Yeah. So teaching them that's amazing. How to have perspective. That's one of the big principles on like, what are other churches doing? What are other churches like? What's basic? Like, how does my house electricity work? Like, just basic perspective in life to help kind of broaden the horizon for them, so they can see a little bit more than what they've currently seen in life, being a young person. And that really helps them to start to gather these principles and just really get a big understanding of like, all right, I see how things can work in life a little bit more, and especially in ministry. And now I'm trying to live this thing out. And it's based off of regular life, and it goes into ministry, and then that's when the principles start coming in. That's why the design's like that.
That's very important, because there's the because people come from all different backgrounds, and you don't even know what kind of life experience they have. Some people don't even know how to balance a checkbook, or change a tire,
right?
Or just even been out and getting their hands dirty and getting about it. You know what I mean? So it's very good. And again, talking to these students after seeing them, they're happy, they're excited to be here. For the last 4 years, it's just been an amazing thing to see what God is doing through the school. It's so important, and the cost is not even an outrageous amount.
No,
I mean, I've heard of some pretty expensive schools to go to.
That's 100% because of the heart of the church. It's $4,000 a year for the whole year.
That's food
and
living.
Everything. It's everything
for a year.
It's everything.
That is ridiculous.
It's because the heart of our program is fed by the heart of the church.
Right.
So this started with my dad and me casting the vision for it, but the church loves it and is all about it. And so they give so that we can subsidize so that...
How many months is it? It's 12 months, right? Actually, 11 months?
Technically, it's 11.
So it's 11. Yeah. So let's
come at the end of August, leave at the end of July.
By 11. Wait, what?
4,000 divided by 11, you mean?
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I know when I did by 12, it was $333. So, I mean, this is ridiculous. But that way God's done it is because the church is on board.
Yeah.
With the whole vibe. So $363 a month for food and rent. You will get that nowhere else.
Yeah.
In St. Pete, Florida.
And to answer your question, it's a little bit more on the practicalities. For additional accountability, in case there are parents that are curious about it.
I'm sponsoring a kid.
All right, let's go. That's easy money. You can do that.
Who are we going to sponsor, Daniel?
If a parent wants to know more information about how it works, like the money works like that, it's cheap because our church subsidizes a lot, and the board and the elders are creating the budget so that we can subsidize, so that we're literally giving to the next generation through that.
Yeah.
Additional accountability is there's one of our pastors, my executive pastor, is my best friend. His family lives in a house that's across the street from the campus. So we have RAs that are in the houses, and he is on campus on call as well. And we help to train them and manage them in the practicalities of everything they do. So like they pay the money, that's their tuition. Part of the program is that we help guide them in their groceries, and like they got to pay for their groceries, they get a budget for their groceries. Some of the first classes that they're going to get is like, some of the first classes you get is like how you guys going to work together to like figure out the food for your household, and like how you going to be able to eat not just McDonald's style food every day. Like how can we train you to eat a little bit better but not have to spend so much money on it, blah blah blah. Like that's all like the behind the scenes detailed stuff. That covers that like normality of life,
dude, which
is foundational for life and ministry. It's not just like we'll teach them life church stuff and they're going to do a great job.
Like
we got to teach everything. Yeah,
this is amazing. As we're talking, I'm thinking, I'm like, for $360 a month, we should. I mean, I know we don't want to like fill out all your like we want to make opportunity for people to come, but man, I need to talk to a couple different people and highlight, because there's always a couple kids or like just a student that were like, there's something about this kid, he needs more, you know, and that would be an amazing. I need to do this.
So here's the guide then for our particular program. If there's someone out there, and you're 18 to 23, or you're a parent, or whatever family relation, or you just know a young person, the question that you need to ask, if it's for our program, there's a lot of programs, and
for your program,
if kids come in and they're not the fit for our program, I'll tell them about other programs and be like, here's what they do, here's what they do, here's what they do. You might be better there, and I'll text the homies from there and be like, hey, I'm sending a homie over to you guys.
Yeah.
But our program specifically is, do you feel a call to ministry?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the question. Do you feel called to ministry? Because we
when you're saying ministry.
When I say ministry, I mean...
You're talking about in the church.
I mean, we are going to train them as if they are working in full-time ministry.
Ministry. Got it.
Ministry being church.
Yeah.
Ministry being like you work at church. You got a full-time job at church.
Yeah.
We do it, though, with the balance that we know that Not everyone's going to do that.
Yeah. But that's the focus. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Because God could change your mind now or lead you in a different direction.
That's what you need for a program. You need to have like, all right, what's our direction? So our direction is
That's amazing though. So all those kids out there that are today, those guys are all 100% ready.
They feel called to ministry. Yeah.
Ready.
And that's what we talked to them about in the interview process is like, yo, what's your life story? What's going on? If they're just like, yo, I just need to study the Bible for a year. I'll be like, all right, that's great.
We got
Here's
another
program where you're going to get a little bit more of that than you are with us.
Right. Yeah.
Because the mix of our program is 50% class, 50% hands-on.
Yeah, because you're training them. Yeah.
Exactly. Precise. And the best way to train is throw them in. If you could have a place where you throw young people in with the sharks. Yeah. But there's not a whole lot of sharks, and there's a couple people swimming with you. It's
this can happen in Idaho, but people
that's because you have the same heart. It's just like you did the same thing to us, literally. And like shout out to the people that are listening to see the evidence of God working in your life. Mm-hmm. You did this with me. Mm-hmm. For 7 years, I've been traveling with you and being discipled and trained by you by principle-based discipleship, where you're catching like. You're pulling me in, and then you're throwing me into things and saying, hey, go do that. And you're not throwing me into something you shouldn't. Yeah. You're throwing me into something that's just enough to push me and watch me even do it imperfectly and not trip out. And then when I come back, you're like, all right, you got to think about this. All right, you got to think about that. Hey, did you notice that? And then I'm like, oh, junk. And so that really was the heart that now is pouring into Zeal. That's why Zeal and Whosoever's have the same blood, because it was me doing that with you that we're doing that with them. So
that's amazing.
Trying to...
That's how I learned.
Trying to have that intentionality. Yeah. So if you feel called, like if you think about church, if you're a young person listening, or if you're an older person and you want a young person to consider, then play this video clip of me saying this. Okay, when you go to church, do you feel like a kid in a candy shop? Because that's how I feel at church. Right. I love all things church. Yeah. And I was that was hard for me. And I grew up in church. That was even hard for me to say because things become cliche. And then I'm like, oh, everything's cliche. It's all stupid. And it's like, no, hold on. When worded correctly, truth is never a cliche. That's a hardcore band quote right there. Like, let's do the cliche thing because cliche things are the best things that are just done over and over again. Yeah. And that's what Christianity is. What do? You read your Bible, you pray, you go to church. You full send, you party hard, you love people, you love Jesus. Like, these are the things that we're going to do. Yeah. So when you think about church, do you love all things church? Do you love all things ministry? You see people doing worship and doing AV tech stuff and preaching and teaching and helping out with the kids ministry. And like, you just love serving in the parking lot and like helping people with their coffee. And like, do you love talking to people? Do you love just going through life with people? You think about people all day long. You're always thinking about how God could help their life. And like, if that's the way you think, church is like a candy shop, and I just want to help people. Yeah, that's a call to ministry, and you don't know it. Yeah, and that's the most notorious thing I hear when I'm taking interviews with kids, is like, tell me about yourself, tell me about like what you want to do in life, and young people don't really know, but we're just trying to find like, all right, is there a little ticket of like call to ministry in there? And if it is, that's what we want to try and feed off of. We don't expect you to come in saying like, I feel called to be a pastor. Yeah, if you do, cool. Usually it's while you're here that like God will speak to you. Like, there's a guy right now that's like, he's now seeing like, oh, junk, I'm called to be a pastor, and he's young. But when I'm interviewing kids, the most common thing that kids will say is like, I don't know, I just want to help people. When I hear that, I'm like, ding, ding, ding. That's it. That is usually a call to ministry. Yeah. And we're going to train you as if you were able to get paid to do this. Right. It's not necessarily going to be promised. It's a blessing that we have that. But if you were just doing this full time, this is how we're going to train you. And then you can take those principles and apply it to if you're working a full-time job or you're being paid by the church. Even realistically, as you're saying this, like, they're in class studying a certain amount of weeks. If you're in ministry, you may not be in a classroom, but you need to be in your own office studying and praying. Well, it's logistics. It's the same. It's logistics. It's the same run of show. Ministry is not... This might be good for people to hear, and you would agree with this. Ministry is not what you see on Instagram. No. Ministry, it's not just going and doing the cool thing on stage and like being famous and looking cool. That's a social media vibe. No, ministry has a logistical side. No matter what job you have in ministry, you're going to be sitting somewhere working through logistics that are boring, that you don't feel like doing. That's any job. So like, you got to be able to do that and do a good job of that, 100%. And then, because if you don't do that,
There's no on stage. There's no production. There's no event.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you'll come to see that that's the most important part. Actually, is the logistical behind the scenes stuff, because that's what feeds what God does in front of people.
Well, like we were talking with, I was talking with Lucas, and and even our team, and Sean McKeon and these guys, and because we were talking, when we're going to hire someone or whatever. And I go, guys, do you understand? I go, the Whosoever's movement, people see from social media like, oh, they're in front of these people at a school. Oh, they're at a music festival. Oh, they're doing this outreach. Do you know how much time it takes to produce that one? We're going right now. We're working on a mega tour down in Colombia and Mexico. Mexico's 90,000 students. Dude, the logistics, we call it the Mexico Blitz, and then we have the Colombian Blitz, and then we're working on the Idaho Blitz. We got the Cali Blitz. There's so much logistics. We're an event. We are ministry, but at the end of the day, what it really is, it's ministry, but we're an event company.
Yeah.
We produce events.
Yeah.
And anyone that knows events, it's production.
Yeah.
It's logistics for that event. That's all the back end is all the planning, all the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, making sure this guy's on his plane. He's going to be in this country at this time at the right time zone.
Book the plane
has
tickets.
Time to sleep and make it to the event.
Plane tickets get changed to a different time.
Dude, oh my gosh.
But there's a piece of that that's the same in church ministry too.
Yeah,
and that's in the New Testament. The New Testament talks about the details of doing things in excellence, doing things in order, and a lot of details of like, this is how you got to handle these kind of situations. This is how you got to handle these kind of logistics. You should be doing things so well, the New Testament says, that non-Christians look at your life and respect you. That's how hard of a worker you should be. Just like a quiet life behind the scenes, like that's foundational, including when it comes to church ministry stuff. So yeah, people don't know. People don't know that. It's like anything else. Like, every job has like its own world where you need to learn about the job.
His own
ministry has its own world. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like doing a church service takes a lot. I mean, if you go to a church and you got leadership that's not being paid by the church because it can't, that is incredible. I mean, they need nothing but encouragement because it takes so much to do things like that that you just don't know unless you're in that world. But that's where it's like you start talking, I get excited. I'm like, that's the candy right there. Like, let me figure out the logistics of how I can do ministry. Like that's where that call to ministry is.
Now, on the bright side of all this, once you learn this stuff, figure out how it works, you can do this anywhere in the world.
100%.
That's it's amazing. It's not like limited to like a certain thing. Like if you're called to ministry, you could go be a missionary in Africa and use what you've learned in Africa, Sweden, Australia, New York City, London, it doesn't matter.
Because ministry, here's what I teach the kids. One of the first things I teach them is ministry is about the soul.
Yeah.
That's what ministry is. It's about the soul. Everything you do at some point is going to affect a human. It's in the work of relational interactions and working for human souls. You're helping the soul. So if I'm doing lyrics at a church service, and all the things that go into something as simple as lyrics, the reason I'm doing it is the ministry is, like the end goal is I'm doing this to edify the soul, and I'm working with and for people, which is the uniqueness of ministry as a job. But that's why
because
it goes anywhere.
Business stuff, you could do everything just from laptop and computer, and I mean, you do, but ministry, it's an in-person thing.
Yeah,
it's an in-person thing,
and everything is connected to humans, and you have to honor that. With business, you could just be like, yo, it's business. Like, sorry, the numbers line up like this. We got to make this call. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Deal with it, which is fine. Business is business. And even in business, you get politics involved because it's relational. It's humans. But the uniqueness of ministry is this is where you feel called to specifically do work that is not just what every Christian should do, but you want to do it. You want to do it as much as possible. Right. And if you can get paid to do it, great, but you're going to learn how to do that the right way because it's connected to humans, and you have to learn how to honor and respect that and how to interact with that. It's tough.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to go to break in a minute. To find out more, go to ZEALSchool.com, and it's also on our website at thewhosoevers.com. We have it available. You can find out more about them. There's a little video trailer that shows about it. But I mean, this interview is like crushing it on like.
Yeah, this is in the nitty gritty. Yeah.
This is an amazing interview that I would like to also put on the website so people can watch and hear more of the details after the trailer. Go to the RyanReese.com. Don't forget that. All the past radio shows, the whosoevers.com. You can book our global tours and events to bring the Great Commission to your local city and your public school. We'll be back with Jairus Hodges, Calvary Chapel Fellowship. 2 minutes.
More of The Ryan Ries Show coming up. Post your questions at Ryan Ries on his Instagram, Twitter, and or Facebook. Now, back to The Ryan Ries Show.
All right, we are currently out in St. Pete, Florida at Calvary Chapel Fellowship, where the ZEAL School of Ministry is. I have Jairus Hodges. He's the lead pastor here now, just took over for his dad, 29 years old, also Whosoever ambassador. And we were just talking about the first half of the show that how I met you years ago, brought you out on Whosoever's tour, and just put you into the game. You already had the foundation of ministry, but I introduced you to the evangelistic side of things, and then with what you've already had, your foundation, learning the ways of the evangelism as we were all learning together, I guess.
That's perfect that you say that, because that's actually the design of the school.
Yeah, learning together, and then that
and having a
had
foundation.
the effect to you say, hey, we need to continue, like what happened to me, we need to continue this on a larger scale. So you started the ZEAL School of Ministry.
Remember the first time you ever had me on your show, we were in the elevator, and you were telling me that you wanted to do like a 12-person school of ministry or school of discipleship kind of thing. You 100%.
I mean, I remember talking.
We were talking, and you were saying it'd be sick if we could do like something official.
Yeah. I remember talking about that. Just don't remember what elevator you're talking about.
Me neither. It was whatever that building
Some world.
was. Yeah.
Some world. Or some.
But then later, I was the one that
country.
told you, like, hey, my dad and I are actually going to do something like that. And you were like, sick, go do it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
And here we are.
So it's cool you say that too. The heart for bringing in students is the same thing too. So this is more. There's a lot more to talk about for people that want to know the ins and outs of ZEAL. We are trying to accept students specifically that already have a foundation as a Christian.
Yeah.
That's part of the interview process. There are programs that are designed to take in people that are brand new Christians and that are struggling with things, almost like rehab style stuff. Like, hey, you just came off of drugs. Like, there's a guy that tried to sign up and he had just come off of like something hard, like meth or something. And I was like, hey man, the program design is not for you. What would be best for you is probably to just read your Bible, pray, and get involved in your local church.
Yeah.
And then he did. And I saw him a year later, and he didn't end up signing up again. He's just been involved in his church, just killing it.
Perfect.
But that's not designed for our kind of program.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is you're training for people that have to have a call to ministry. So you have to be a seasoned Christian to have that call.
Yeah, there's got to be
That's
some kind of
line.
foundation. Like, you didn't just quit porn or masturbation or drugs or like some real sketch relationship or like something that's these major things that we go through.
It takes
in
time
life.
to come out of that stuff.
Right. That didn't just happen like last month.
Yeah.
That's the rule that we live by, trying to filter through what students would be good to accept because of the design of the way that we train things. We want to have a foundation first so we can build on top of that. A lot of kids grew up in church, but not every single kid. But like, that's an easy example. There's a lot of church kids will come, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, you're a church kid, but like, you're actually legit. You're reading your Bible and praying. Like, what's going on with that? Some kids not, just recent, like last couple of years. One guy that's like serving at another church now, just got like saved a couple years before and was like doing the grind, started serving at church, and was wondering what's next. And I'm like, perfect. That's what we need for the way that we're trying to disciple you guys. And then we coming to get going. So some of the other ins and outs that would be good for people to know is how we get them plugged in with the church. The design of the program is it's like 50% class, 50% hands-on. So some classes, even the classes, like we said in the first half, are between Bible teachings and practical life teachings. The classes also include hands-on training as well, and then the actual involvement in our local church, which is kind of like the crazy game. It's like we are taking risks with young people through the program by them being integrated with what happens with our church. and that's the whole point. Part of the design is putting them in service with the church, volunteering at different things as a student, and building relationships and doing different stuff in different ministry areas, and kind of getting the feel for what that's like.
Yeah.
Also, part of the program is the fact that they live together on campus, and the fact that it's a small group in general. Excuse me, because a lot of the things that they interact with relationally happens amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. A lot of ministry training that we teach them is when they go through their own stuff. They're living on campus and they're interacting with each other for a year. You build relationships pretty quick, because it's kind of like youth camp. You go and hang out youth camp, you like build relationships fast. It's kind of like that. Like, we're hanging out, having fun, partying, like, but then things get real. Then relationship stuff comes up. Then like little drama things come up. Then big drama things come up. And then it's like, all right, you have to deal with that. Like, you don't like that person in your house because they did this or said this. All right, you need to go deal with that. Matthew chapter 18, go and deal with that. You can't just run away from it. That's ministry, bro.
Right.
You're going to be on a team serving with people, and you're going to be a part of the church. Guess what? You're going to get the lessons for that by walking through some of the challenges you're going to have amongst each other. And when you do that, you're going to see the fruit that comes and the unity that comes when you guys work through things together. You're going to become a stronger team. You're going to be like a family. So a lot of that design and the way that they live and interact on campus with each other and with church gives them a lot of that kind of experience of real life. And then the way that we integrate them with the church is we got weekend services, and Wednesday services are like the main ones. So we split it up into a few different things. First semester, you'll be in kids ministry.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
We got 3 services on a weekend.
Right.
So one service they attend, and they take notes, and that's one of the classes later as a sermon recap. The other 2 services, you'll do kids in that service, you'll do youth the other service.
Perfect. Switch it up.
Or you'll do AV Tech, and you'll do hospitality.
So you're basically not going to be bored.
Well, 100%, yeah. Yeah, no, not at all.
And that's cool because you're exposed to all these different things. And then that's where you go, I'm going to be called to children's, or I'm going to AV Tech, or whatever.
And it's perspective if you're not called to that, because you get to learn how to serve in something that you're not called to, or you don't think is cool, or you don't like. It's like, well, that's how life goes, bro. Like, you might get an opportunity.
To do anything.
You might get an opportunity to work in ministry where someone says, hey, like, we have a need. Will you do this for us? And you can't be like, oh, well, it's not worship on a stage in front of people. It's like, oh, no, it's cleaning toilets. Yeah, will you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, go send that. You got to get that perspective.
Yeah.
And not be a little punk about it. But like, that's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. And so they get that feel for that. It's like, all right, I'm going to do for a whole semester, like 4 or 5 months, I'm going to serve in kids ministry. And maybe kids aren't my thing, but I'm going to learn how to serve in kids ministry and minister to kids. And Chuck Smith is like, any pastor that can't teach a kid, you can't teach adults. Yeah, same thing. So they learn things like that. But like you said, then they also learn what they really love, what they really feel called to. And we see that same thing too. And then we switch them around. Next semester, we switch them around to all kinds of other things so that they're experiencing multiple different ministry things on the weekend.
That's amazing.
And same thing on Wednesday nights. And then one of the classes, we will teach them particular hands-on training for some of the things that they're involved in. The easiest example is music. Thursdays is a 2-hour class. It's where we'll spend significant time in some of the practical ministries that they're involved in, and we'll teach them hands-on stuff. For example, music. So we're teaching them how to sing, and we're teaching them how to play guitar.
That's amazing.
We teach them how to play bass, and teach them how to play drums, and then we teach them how to like build a little band together, and then they have to play as a band. And then,
no way.
And then you get to the end. The end of the program is a missions trip, because we're not missions focused as a program, but we're mission intentional because that's part of church ministry. Yeah. So we want to get them that experience. There's nothing like going on a missions trip. I mean, you haven't been on one, you got to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like, missions being something outside of your bubble.
Yeah.
And that could be America, and definitely when you cross the border somewhere else, it's even more experience. You go outside of your bubble and learn to serve and love people that are in a different world. So they do that to Costa Rica. That's where we do our missions trip, which also that's intentionality there. Costa Rica is a missions trip they go to. It's a week long. It's a safe place, a safe environment. It's just enough to feel like something different.
Totally.
But it's not like a dangerous, like we're going to go to Africa where like you could get sick and die.
Yeah.
Because it's not missions focused.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll train them up for like music and stuff. You guys got to learn how to play together and sing together. And then you're going to go to Costa Rica and you're going to play for the church in Costa Rica as a band together.
No way.
For example.
That's epic.
Just
So, do you have video content of this?
oh yeah,
I want to see the last year class.
will easy money.
way.
You can see chunks of it on social media too.
No way.
Yeah,
I didn't know
100%.
that. That's
We
amazing.
actually have a documentary.
That is an amazing concept.
We have 2 documentaries of our first 2 trips that we did, year 1 and year 2. We
wanna
did a
see
little
them.
miniature documentary.
Those are
People can check
amazing.
that out too and see a little bit on the inside of what it is.
I'm excited. I'm getting more excited about ZEAL the more I hear about the interworking of it. And I'm sure listeners right now are getting pretty excited. Okay, let's circle back. How much? 4,000 for what?
It's a year long. It's residential on campus. You live in a house with other guys or girls. Maximum capacity is 10 students plus 2 RAs.
Guys and girls room?
Yep. Guys are in a house. Girls are in a house. 10 students total. And it's $4,000 for the year.
$365 a month, all inclusive.
All inclusive, takes care of everything, and we train you in everything that we possibly can to give you a large perspective on life and then see how that comes to ministry, because everything starts with the personal life or the relationship with Jesus and then goes into ministry.
That is phenomenal.
And anybody that knows ministry knows that like that's how it works. You have to have a relationship with Jesus. So a lot of discipleship is that, like, all right, are you reading your Bible and praying every day, and what does that look like? And try and help that go deeper. But then like go and let them do that and then see what happens. But anyone in ministry knows if your life is work, if your life is ministry, some people make ministry their work, like workaholic thing, then you're going to end up dying in ministry and getting burned out in ministry.
Burnout.
And then burning other people around you. It's like an explosion. But it starts with, I need to be responsible. Paul said this is brilliant. He taught Timothy and Titus like this. 1 Thessalonians, I think, is one real good one. I think it's 1 Thessalonians 4, where he specifically says, you need to live a quiet life and work hard with your own hands. So much so that the outside, the non-Christians, like will respect you as just being an honorable human being. So there's a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that helps us literally learn how to just be responsible in life, to brush your teeth and to pay to pay your taxes and to go to work on time and to do your homework and like to respect your parents and like the basic, like, this is just life. We're living life. You got to learn how to do that well. So that's why the part of the program is designed with a huge emphasis on practicalities, like practical things in life, as well as ministry training, because then you see how they connect. You have to have your own personal relationship in life with Jesus on par if it's going to bless the ministry. And anybody that does ministry knows that. Knows you have to have that balance. But it's easier said than done.
Yes. But there was one other thing you wanted to recap by the end of the show, because we have 12 minutes left. Was there one last thing? Because we talked about the nuts and bolts. I think maybe you wanted to get more to the nuts and bolts of it. Was there?
I was trying to make sure people understood how we get them plugged into the church. We do community outreach is one I didn't talk about.
Community outreach. Yeah, that's, I think, because there was 3 things.
Yeah, community outreach is the one I didn't mention yet.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's important.
We get them involved on campus. We get them involved with each other. We get them involved with the church.
And you send them on the mission trip.
We're teaching them things, and a missions trip. And then the other, because there's like a lot of opportunities in ministry.
Right.
But we're trying to get it to like the most succinct number of things. Yeah. So community outreach is also one of those.
And that's just
specifically doing outreach, doing ministry outside of the church bubble.
So what does that look like?
So practically for ZEAL, there is at least a bi-weekly opportunity where they serve outside of the church. And we partner with different local ministries, opportunities for them to do things. That could be anything as simple as going to the city next door and helping with like a garden center, to feeding the homeless, to we had a hurricane and then we had another hurricane.
Yeah.
So then we all went together and like emptied out people's houses that lost everything. I mean, everything from working with the local ministry that's doing things to handling things that just come up. There's a bi-weekly thing, the first and third Saturday of each month from basically like 9 to 12, the morning time, they're doing something out in the community. And then in addition to that, what I have my administrative assistant doing is keeping an eye on things that are happening in St. Pete, because St. Pete's very local. They're like local vibes.
Yeah, it's true.
Very creative too, very liberal.
Yep.
So they got a lot of party cool things going on. And anytime that there's cool things going on, I'm trying to let the students know so that they can take extra opportunities in addition. So it'll be like a coffee shop is like the most local coffee shop. We all go, everyone at the church goes to this coffee shop. Then they do like a special event on a Saturday. And they got like a live band and like this little thing that's going on. It's like, that's a local city thing. Hey, when you're doing ministry, you just need to be out in the community.
Yeah.
So be like, hey, why don't you go and do that? Second semester too, for community outreach. I just told them this last week. I said, all right, second semester, part of the design of second semester is things get more hectic. The schedule gets busier because I want them to feel a little bit more of like things coming at them.
Right.
So they can learn how to balance when life gives you a lot.
Right.
And still like not trip out, which is tough. Mm-hmm. So there's like more opportunities, more things that'll come, heavier responsibilities. Like, hey, you guys are going to plan a local event that we're going to do at church. Here's the budget. You got to plan all the logistics and details for it.
That's a big deal.
That's a community outreach thing that we do.
That's a big deal.
We're like, hey, the church is doing a Easter thing.
Right.
I just told them last week.
Are you guys still doing that one down there in the downtown?
No, we aren't as a church, but every year ZEAL does 2 in the first semester and second semester. We give them a budget and we say we're going to do it in the church parking lot. We're going to invite the church and we're going to tell the church that they can invite other people. Cool. So like this past year we did a Christmas one. We might do like a harvest one next year, and then we always do an Easter one. So we say, here's a budget. You got this amount of time, and then you guys got to go and plan out what this event's going to be like. You're going to be a logistics person. You're going to keep track record of all the budget. You're going to find out who's good at what, who's going to take care of the audiovisual stuff, who's going to take care of booking the like blow up jumper, like a little blow up castle thing. You know, they got like one of the things we throw and knock the baseball for the person to fall in the water. Yeah. Like fun festival of things. You guys got to figure those things out. How many stations are you going to have? Where are you going to set it up? Here's the parking lot space that you have. Yep. How are you going to set all this up? What time are you going to start setting things up?
Events.
How many volunteers do you need to have at each station? What's going to happen if you don't get all your volunteers? Like, how are you going to set the cones up? Where are you going to have security? Blah, blah, blah. So then
that's amazing.
That's a cool integration thing because it's community outreach that they do, but it's literally with the church's name on it. So it's like, who's going to make the graphics? Working with our graphic girl behind the scene to make sure it's good. But it's like, who's going to try the graphics and how you guys going to brand this thing? And who's going to make the flyers? You guys going to go out and hand out flyers downtown St. Pete, blah, blah, blah. So extra events downtown.
All right, this is coming up, Boise, Idaho, dude. I'm done. I'm done.
Any opportunities? And then, like I said last week, I told them prepare for the Easter thing. I said I want your first draft next week of your guys' Easter event plan. So we'll see how they do. Because they already did the first one for Christmas, so now I get to see how they do and see if they're learning. And then also I told them, okay, now you guys have your second semester. Now I want to see you get out in the community. You're living on church campus. Mm-hmm. You're doing ministry. Easy to get in the ministry bubble. It's one of the most common struggles in ministry.
Yep.
Easy to get in the bubble and not be out in the world, but not of the world.
Yep.
You got to get out in the world. We talk about this for years.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to do that? How are you literally going to do that? I want you to go and figure that out. And I'm not going to help you yet.
So what have people done in the past?
So I've had guys get involved in like, I had a homie from, shout out Daniel, from Canada. So he's Canadian, he plays hockey. He found a local hockey team, not on ice. So they do it like on pavement, whatever, pavement hockey. I forget what the field hockey, I forget what they call it. He found like a local field hockey team and went and played hockey like every week or bi-weekly or something, so that he could be involved in the community and like meet guys and meet relationships and invite people to young adults and stuff like that. I've had people longboard to the closest local coffee shop. I'll tell them like, just go to a coffee shop and like go to the same coffee shop once a week.
Yep.
And when you go to that coffee shop, learn the person's name, learn the other person's name, learn if they have kids, pray for them behind the scenes. Don't tell them you pray for them. Just like pray for them when you're going to see them. I've had them group up together for volleyball stuff that they find. One of my students said, I just found a volleyball thing, but they meet on a different night, so I'm going to go find another one. But St. Pete's got all kinds of opportunities like that. So it's like, find a running club, find a coffee shop you want to go to. Some girls in the first or second year were trying to like find a book club. Like, I don't care what you do. I just want you to go and interact.
Find out what you like, and they get involved in it. It's very like you're a skater, so you're involved at the skate park.
I want you I want you guys to go and interact with non-Christians away from this property.
Yeah,
and feel what that's like.
Yeah,
like feel what it's like to talk to a non-Christian, especially in St. Pete. St. Pete's one of the biggest LGBTQ cities.
So yeah, because that has changed recently, or it's been like that actually kind of for a while.
For a few years,
They've had it's the biggest LGBT.
One of them.
I
mean, when they throw annual parade, and it's like a month-long thing, but
a month.
I don't know what the logistics are recently. They might have made top, but I know I think it was like 2 years in a row that they were like the second biggest in the U.S. LGBTQ gay pride parade.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's a whole nother tangent. Is like, I want you guys to be able to interact with people that are gay and not trip out.
Yeah.
How can you talk to a gay person and love them and them feel like you love them?
That's
awesome. A huge thing. That's a whole nother tangent for the church, dude. Yep. Is like LGBTQ is a big up and coming thing. My opinion, it's a loose opinion, but my opinion is I think the LGBTQ community is like the modern day version of the hippie movement back when Calvary Chapel started. Because people thought hippies were a segregated group that were radical in their thought.
Yep.
That everybody that was on the Christian side thought they were totally crazy. I don't want nothing to do with them. It's icky to be around them.
Yep.
I think that's like the LGBTQ movement. So I was like, I'm talking to the kids and I'm telling them stories of me being at the gym with a friend of mine that's gay, that's like knows that I'm a pastor and is coming up to me just last week, came up to me randomly while we're working out and is like, hey, do you know anything about celestial spheres? What does the Bible say about that? Just a random crazy question, in like some spirituality stuff.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it. Yeah. And like he told me like a few months ago, he was like, hey, like he was like crying. He was like, I got this friend of mine who like lost their daughter or something like that. And I was like, bro, my whole team's gonna be praying for that. And later on,
and he's just like, thanks.
Like it's a whole nother tangent. Not condoning lifestyles of sin.
Yeah.
Well, if Christians are gonna trip out, they're gonna trip out. But like, no, we're gonna train you guys, go and be in the world, but not be of the world.
Right.
And then talk about that. Yeah. And so I'm sharing stories of my life at the skate park. So many stories at the skate park of like people rip you to shreds, but you need to feel that. Jesus was out in the world like that, but not of the world. And he was talking to people about regular life and faith. He was accused of being a friend of sinners, so he was hanging out with them. Yeah. But he was also talking about their beliefs and like telling them what the truth was and like interacting with it.
Yeah, you got to have that. You can't get churchified or in the bubble. You have to make sure you have the both.
And it's
just a balance.
It's so good for you to feel that. I told them a story. I was just out at coffee with my wife and a bunch of our friends, and none of them are Christians. Some of them are like hardcore atheists.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about anything except for like babies and soccer and like just running and random stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like some Christians aren't able to do that. So I'm telling them about the story and like I'm feeling, as a pastor, I'm feeling like I don't want you guys to think that I'm just like trying to push Jesus on you. I'm just trying to have normal conversations with you. You need to feel that pressure of like, can you just hang with a homie that's not a Christian? Can you do that and everything's chill? And then when the opportunity arises, be able to tell them something. You should be able to do that, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You have to be able to have those conversations. I'm just thinking about like conversations like, a lot of my friends that I go and hang out with that are not believers. Yeah.
But that's the other thing that we were talking earlier. That's the other thing that I wanted to really pump is that's my heart.
Yeah.
My heart for ZEAL, what we are doing is I learned a lot following you and the whosoevers. I grew up in the church. I was the guy that was like, if anyone says a cuss word, they're absolutely going to hell. Like that was me. that was me 8 years ago. 100%. Even if you just said it, I'm like, there's no way do you even know what Jesus is.
You're going to hell.
100%. It's absolute. And like I needed to learn perspective to just chill out more and to be more slow to react to things and be able to learn how to not be Jesus and how to love people better. I learned a lot of that through you and through the whosoevers. And so my heart for ZEAL is to try and help them see a wider perspective and have the ability more to have this raw grit that Jesus had when you see the stories of how he interacted with people and the principles the Bible teaches us and how to be. We need to have this raw grit to Christianity and not just this soft bubbled up vibe.
Well, you sold me on this zeal. I'm ready to sign up myself.
Come on.
Hey.
Oh, JK, you're not 23. You're 24
man,
and a half.
fake ID.
That works.
So I'm seriously, hey, listen, listeners, let's get people here. Let's get them enrolled. Class 5's happening. I'm gonna think of a couple people. I want to sponsor one for sure.
Cool.
We've talked about this before, but man, this has to happen. We gotta get these youngsters in, discipled, trained, and out so they can inspire people around them. That's what it's all about. All right, Jairus, I love you. Thank you for being on the show. ZEALSchoolMinistry.com, thewhosoevers.com, Ryan-Ries.com. Those are the 3 .coms you want to visit to get all the details. Tonight, we're out here for a revival night at Calvary Chapel, St. Pete, Florida.
See you there.
Calvary Chapel Fellowship. I love you guys. Peace.
This has been The Ryan Ries Show. To connect and find out more about Ryan, click on Ryan-Ries.com. Check us out next Saturday at 9 p.m. for The Ryan Ries Show.